Okay, working with navigation is one of the essential pieces, and to get the best control over formatting, we like to set up our navigation with a list. And one of the things that we use is as simple as like a bullet list. And in this case, what I've done here is I went in and added a UL tag right in my nav section, and it gave it a name of ID equals nav list, so uniquely identifies this list, because you could have a bullet list somewhere else on your page and we only want to affect the navigational section. Then each of these have list items. There's 4 of them right here. You would have if you have 5 pages, you would have 5 list items. If you have 6 or 7, you would have 6 or 7 list items. I have the closing URL tag here as well. Now, it's just when we work with a list, it provides an easy way to create a navigation that can be styled with our CSS. And the key here, though, is that you have to go back in and modify your style sheet to adjust for what a bullet list looks like. So as you see up here, can you see where the bullets are? We don't want the bullets to go straight down like they want. We want them to go side by side. Okay, so that's where we have to go in and do some modifications to the styles so they get it side by side, because I have my navigation bar going across at the top. So to do this, what I'm going to do is very simple. I'm going to go in and add some of my anchor tags first, and then add styles that's going to manipulate the list items as well as the anchor tags. The anchor tag is going to control the actual link. Okay, the list item does not make the link work. It's just there to help you with formatting purposes. The anchor tag is what's going to create that hyperlink. So here in my code, I'm just going to simply type in the A tag, and I'm going to say href equals and quotation marks, and I'm going to leave it blank right now. The reason is, if I don't have the name of the page I'm going to be working with, I will leave it blank until I have that name of the page. Now, if you already know the name of the pages, then I would type it in right here, like index.html. That's all you need, is the page name. At this time, I don't have those. I'm just going to leave it blank. So I'm going to put in 2 quotation marks, and then I'm going to type in home/a. Now I'm going to go here, I'm going to put in list items for all these other pages. So I'm going to say href equals and then lastly, again, half the battle is typing in the code. Now you can also have Dreamweaver do it for you as well. I just find it easier to type in the code. And if you type in the code, you got to be careful what you're typing in. If you type in something wrong, it will not work. So in this case, notice how I have the anchor tags added, and what this is doing here is this is making this text called home a link. It's making about a link. So up here you can see that it has the underline underneath it, and so it went in and modified that to create a hyperlink. So as you know, when we see things with underlines, we know it's a hyperlink. And there's sometimes when you links you can stylize it to have no underline. It just depends on the style of your website that you're looking for. Now, once I have this set up, again, I have the list added, and now I have the anchor tags in play. Now, if you're going to add other links, you just add, you just basically just add this whole line, and you just copy and paste it and just change the name of what you're linking to and your page name for that purpose. Now let's add some styles to what we're working with. So the first thing I want to do is I want to remove those bullets, and I also want to remove the spacing that a bullet list automatically adds. A bullet list is what we call a block element. So again, just like a heading 1, it adds space above and below. So there's already what we call inherent space added. So a browser looks at that and says it adds that space automatically. So we're going to take that space away. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to my style sheet in the CSS Designer. I'm going to come down and choose my selector. Now I want to modify the UL tag, so if you want to click on that before you work with it, that's up to you, or you can type it in. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have it control the nav section. I'm going to have it go to the pound nav list. Now you can have it, in this case you don't really need to have it specifically select that area because we're working on IDs. So there should be only one ID in that page because that's the way IDs work. So I'm just going to say pound nav list. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set the margin, because I told you I already add space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change and set up the actual margin. I'm going to control it and say, okay, I want 0. And I'm going to do the same thing for, you have to type it in, because even though you see the 0 there, that does not mean it's going to apply it on that part. So after I type in 0, I'm just accepting. I'm pressing the return key to accept the zeros. You can also set the shorthand up here. It would be a lot easier, but I'm just letting you see how that's controlled around the sides. And if I look at my style sheet, you can see that it adds a margin right, margin bottom, left, top, all that on all sides in there. It's all set to 0. Now that doesn't go in and change, with the bullets. It automatically adjusts the spacing. So the last thing I want to do is I want to change the bullets to be removed. We're going to use that style called List Style Type, and we're going to tell it to be none. Now this is down here in, I deselected my style, so I want to make sure I have the right one selected. And what you want to do here, this is down in your text options, and it says List Style Type here. We're going to go in and we're going to say none. That means it's going to remove the bullets. Now the bullets are going to be gone, but again, the problem is it's still not going side by side. So we have to take care of that by adjusting the LI tags that are inside the nav list section. So the nav list the LI is what's, we applied the nav list style to say list style type none, so that took away the bullets. But now we got to control, because the list items is a block element as well, and it adds space above and below. So this is a very simple one actually to work with. So I'm going to choose my style sheet. I'm going to add a selector, and in this case I'm just going to have it say pound nav list LI. There's a space in between now. So this is specifically selecting the list items in the nav list section. And what I want to do is I want to use a rule called display inline. And what you're doing is you're saying, okay, I don't want it to be a blocked option anymore where it adds space above and below it. I want it to stay in the same line. And this is done right up here in the layout section. There's a display option, and you just have to make sure you choose the inline option that you have here. Now again, just because it's grayed and it looks like it says inline, you really have to choose it. Okay. Now once I chose this, notice, look how it adds the navigational, and now it's going across horizontally. Now the text is so close to each other, the links, you really can't read it, so we have to add some extra spacing and some other adjustments for that. So we'll do that in just a second. Now since we moved the LI items up there and we took away the margins, to control our spacing between the navigational links and that, we're going to add space to our anchor tag. That's basically on the right side or left side, and we're going to use the margin to do that. So now we're using the anchor tag to add that space, not the list items. So this anchor tag that we have right here, we want to add a style to it. So I'm going to come back over to my external style sheet. I'm going to add a selector here, and so now it's going to go to pound. We want to say pound nav list. Now I'm going to go in, you can say LIA, or nav list A is going to work as well. So I'm just going to say pound nav list A, so that way you don't get confused. So what it's going to do is it's going to look in our section called nav list, which is our UL, and it's going to find any anchor tags to apply the styles to. Now in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the margin right. I'm going to type in 20 pixels. Notice how it adds a space in between. So automatically it's adding space on the right hand side and forcing the text to be moved. So what it does is, again, on the right side of home, it adds that 20 pixels, and depending on your font size and depending on the styles you're adding, you might have to increase the space or decrease it. So if you're using a larger font size, you might have to do so. Now I do want to make the font size larger, so I am going to apply this to the anchor tag. So up here in the top in the text section, I'm going to change my size of my text. I'm going to use pixels as dimension. I'm going to start with 18. See how that makes it a little bit larger? Okay. Now when you make it larger, you might have to increase your margin on the left side. Or on the right side. Well, actually, I added on the left side. I was thinking that I was going to add on the right side, so I did tell you in a previous one I said right, and I actually put it on the left side. And as you can see, it worked the same way. It's just that the space was added on the other side, not on the right. So here I made the font size and made it a little larger. And, I think I also want to do is change the text transformation to be all in uppercase. So down here, text transform, I'm going to choose uppercase, makes the text all in uppercase. Okay. Then I'm also going to go in and let's make it stand out a little bit on that part. So what I want to do here is change the font weight to be bold. And I am going to increase the spacing on the left side here. So I'm going to go up to 30. Now, again, what I'm doing is I'm just trying to manipulate it to stand out. Notice how the text is so close to the top edge. We don't want that. So what do you think we're going to do to add extra spacing? So if you think about it, it's kind of similar to what we did with the heading area. We're going to add padding at the top. So we're going to choose our padding option, and we're going to change the top. And again, this is a little bit, this is where you have to know the height of the navigation section, at least to know how to control with it. I'm going to just say 15 right now. And, well, and this is where I forgot what we were working with. And this happens in design. Sometimes if you don't remember what style you're working with, working with Nav List A. So what I want to do here is I don't want the padding to change for Nav List A. That's not controlling that. So I'm going to leave that as 0. Okay. So what I want to do here is actually I want to come back to the pound nav list section. This is the grouping. The nav list is this group of lists that we created. So I want to control that style. And so what I want to do here is I'm going to increase the padding in the nav list style. And what I want to do here is I'm going to put 15 pixels at the top. Now I went ahead and did 15 pixels at the bottom and left and right. Left and right you can leave it 0, but it's again something that by default you're just adding extra spacing. And when I did that, notice how it moves it down. Okay, so all we're doing here is we're basically adding the spacing to the nav list section. And this is where it gets important to know which style goes to which element. And if you're not paying attention like I just did earlier, I was in the Nav List A and I wanted to move the links down some. So how am I going to do so? Well, you have to make sure that you have the right style, and in this case what we need to control is the actual nav list, which is the list items. We want to move all the list items down. Okay, and lastly I want to change the link colors. I want to change the link colors to match the color scheme. Now the thing here is if you leave it by default, blue is going to be a link that if you haven't visited the page yet, that's going to be your active link. If you clicked on the page, a link, and you went there, that's called the visited link, and that changes default color purple. As you can see here, I can see default colors of purple here. And so what I want to do is I want to change the color scheme. To do this, what I want to do is I'm going to use a selector for my anchor tag that is going to change the color scheme to fit the exact style that I want to look for. Now keep in mind, depending on how you're going to work with this, if you have other links on your pages, they can have the same link colors, or if you're working with the navigation, you might have a different set of links. So what I want to do here is, since I'm working with the navigation section for that, I'm going to say pound nav list a colon. You got to put the colon in, and notice that you have these options that come up in Dreamweaver. We're going to tell it to be linked. Now this has to go in a certain order. So if you have to do the link first, then the visited, then the hover if you're going to do hover or active. So you have to have it in the same order. If you don't, it won't work. So we're going to do the link first. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to change the text color here. So I want the link color to be white. So when I see it in the first place, it's going to be white. I want to change my visited color. So I'm going to come back in here and add a new style here. I'm going to say pound nav list a colon visited, and I'm going to change its text color to a medium gray color. You can see it's a light gray, so it stands out. So let me save this real quick. Let's take a look at it real quick. As you can see here, there's the link color, it's in gray. Now let me just show you so you can see what it looks like with white. Let me modify this real quick. My code. I'm just putting a page name in here. Again, notice how I added this extra link here with the list item. Now that automatically is going to update my information. Just so you can see here, that's white, and this is the visited link. So it stands out on that regards. Now a lot of people, here's another thing too, a lot of people don't like to see the underline for the links because they think that distracts from the design. If that's the case, then what you want to do is modify. You just want to modify your two style links. So like here, if I go down and click on nav list a link, what I want to do is I want to change the underline to not have any underline, and we're going to use the text decoration. There's options. We're going to choose none. I'm going to do the same thing for the visited link. I want to choose none, and that underline disappears. A lot of people use a hover effect, so that way it creates when you move your mouse over it, so you know it's a navigational link. But again, we're just setting up our navigational links to relate, to get better control over the formatting, and we do that with a list. So hopefully that made sense, and again, on to our next part of our video.